know, just another run-of-the-mill badge cam where a parking lot infraction in a handicap spot turns into a gunfight. Hi friends, welcome to today's bonus badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Willover. Today's video comes to us from the Harbor Division of the LAPD.
Today's video is brought to us by Mantis. The Mantis family of products is integral to ASP staff building handgun and carbine skills and are your most economical and fastest path to improvement in your skills too. Whether you choose the X10, the Laser Academy, the Blackbeard, or use them all in concert, they will help your practice be more effective, efficient, and fun. Go check them out, pick up a unit, and thank them for sponsoring today's video. Officers on patrol see this car that has parked in a handicapped spot, and so the officers are going to initiate a traffic stop based on the fact that they are illegally parked in a handicapped spot without a handicap placard. We have audio from the badge cam. Let's listen in.
I got my ID and all that, officer.
Cool, my partner will be right with you.
Oh, wow. Can I get my purse? Right here.
On the floor?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Here's my ID.
Let me get to my partner.
Nope. Never even been arrested.
Do you have a valid driver license?
No.
No?
I got an ID.
Hang tight, okay. Okay.
Step out, bro. Face away from me. Keep your hands up. As you're not going, officer.
Good, brother. How's yours?
Just trying to make it home, you know.
Where do you guys stay at?
I stay on Summerlin. I live in the park.
Okay, cool.
12.
12? You just stand right there, bro. Face the wall. Just stand next to him over there. Go ahead, put your phone away, miss. Yeah, put your phone away, keep your hands behind your back.
Can I call my dad at least?
Go put him on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. On your knees. On your knees. Both of you on your knees. High five. We need to back up and do that. First in a 4% group.
Hey, stop.
Turn around. No. Hands on top of your head.
Hey, look.
Hands on top of your head and turn around.
Don't grab it.
Hold on.
Don't move.
Put it on here. Put it on here.
5855 is requesting a backup area and a supervisor requesting on a 14 group with a gun 18th and Pacific.
Cross your legs. Cross your legs. Cross your legs. Cross your legs. Right, there you go. Turn your head to the left. Hey, you in the passenger seat, both your hands out of the window. Don't move.
55, only use respond northbound.
Don't move.
Southbound, Pacific. From 17.
Don't move.
Responding response southbound Pacific from 17th only. You're responding identify? 503 is in right.
Stand by.
He's responding 5855 is in the
Hey, dude in the gray. Stay on your knees, bro. Just shuffle to your right. I didn't ask you.
We're not
Hey, shut up and face the wall. I'm not talking to you.
Hey, just follow simple instructions.
Face the wall. Hey.
Hey, follow simple instructions, bro.
Hey,
What do you want?
you in the gray? What's your name, dude?
Hey, you in the gray.
What's your name? All right, Russell. Just slide over to your right a little bit.
Hey, don't.
Hey, drop it. Hey, shots fired. Officer needs help. We have shots fired. Officer needs help. Get on the fucking ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Hey, get covered. Hey, go inside. Go inside.
Hey, don't fucking move. Don't move. Don't move. Get on the ground.
They got a whole bunch more cops together here and ended up taking him into custody safely. The only charge he was charged with was unlawfully carrying a concealed firearm on his person. Nobody else was harmed here. He ended up coming out of the car with his cell phone and his wallet in his hand. That led to some consternation among some groups, but we'll talk about it in the lessons. Man, how many times do we see these little minor traffic things show up into these big problems? Friends, if you're a private citizen, just take the ticket, okay? So right at the giddy up, Mike, I want to talk about the fact that I'm frustrated by this one. I don't love it. I don't love anything about this detention. I think it was an unnecessary stop. First of all, look at this parking lot. It's completely wide open. Hey friends, don't park in handicap spots. Like, that's stupid. And those are reserved for people who need them. And if you don't have a handicap placard, don't use it. But also, I mean, really, is that a good probable cause? Why don't you just roll up with the PA and go, hey, move your car, dude?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this one, John. You know, I gotta say, I was a law enforcement officer for many years. You always need to know that you are where you are as a law enforcement officer legally. What do I mean by that? That means you have a legal right to be there, and there is a reason that you're there. In this case, I just don't know. It's very muddy to me. I'd have to talk to an attorney. Are you allowed to detain people for an investigative stop based on what is basically comes down just to a parking ticket? I don't think so. I think if these people had gotten out of the car and walked away, they would have been within their rights, and there's not much the police could have done. So they're definitely on edge. You see the officer closest to the surveillance camera is very careful not to walk past the C-pillar. He's got his light out. He's got his hand on his gun in the holster. So I'm not sure if maybe there's more here than meets the eye. If there is, I would love to know what that was, because otherwise this is just a standard law enforcement fishing expedition. We see these guys, it's late. They might be up to no good. Let's see what we can find. And so we end up in this very weird, bizarre situation with this very weird shooting.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, so here's my thing. You know, you end up in an environment, and you end up making national news because you get in an officer-involved shooting, right? And it ends up jeopardizing your job and all those things. Over what? I'm just fishing for something if something's wrong. And in the end, what was wrong? The guy was simply carrying a firearm on his person, which I think is, you know, constitutionally protected. In a post-Bruin world, there's more and more people carrying firearms regularly. And so I just don't think that that's wrong. It's certainly not morally wrong. The guy's got no criminal record or any problems with those things. And he was super cool to the officer too. Like, you know, when you listen to it the first time, he was kind. How are you tonight, officer? You know, good. Where are you from? He answered his questions. He wasn't a jerk to him. He's not trying to pull my rights or nothing. And so it just feels to me like, man, don't fish for problems and you won't find them. And you end up not on the national news.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault officers for being proactive and looking for crime and criminality. But my big problem here isn't so much that they were looking for law violations. It's their presence there, and the legality of this stop, I think, is very questionable. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that's why this guy wasn't cuffed up sooner, because they didn't feel like they were on solid legal footing. Otherwise, a guy that big, if you suspect he's doing something illegal or you have probable cause to detain him or to arrest him, man, that guy's going to get in cuffs quickly. That is a big boy, and I don't want to be the one to have to wrestle this guy around, gun or no, especially not with a gun. But I just feel like this whole thing, part of the problem is they couldn't have been sure this was a legal detention. So I think it had something to do with why they acted the way they did. Because a guy this big, if you're going to detain him, actually detain him and use handcuffs. Let me talk for a moment here, John. once he pulls this gun off of him, I'm a big proponent for law enforcement officers to have a dump pouch somewhere around there. Let me guess, what would it be? 7 o'clock, or they're behind their gun on their gun side for this very thing. So he's not holding the crook with one hand and holding the gun with the other. He doesn't know the condition of the gun. The partner doesn't come over right away to get it. So God forbid this big guy starts to fight. Now I've got this guy's gun in my hand, unknown condition. Get yourself a good dump pouch. That thing can go right in there, and you can go right back to what you were doing. And the moment your partner can come secure that gun, great. But it's not in your hand, and you're not kind of standing here in this very awkward, dangerous position.
Yeah, and frankly, okay, he's got a gun, and you have it now. Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, okay, you took possession of it. He has given you no cause for alarm. He he didn't try to run. He didn't try to pull it on you. You took it off him. And so now you're freaking out, and our officer whose badge cam we're watching right now draws his gun now. But I've got the 2 other suspects in cuffs hanging out right here. So I don't know if they've been patted down or whatever. But like, man, where I'm from in Arizona, where we're from, goodness sakes, man, I got a ticket back in October, and literally I had to stand at the officer's car because I had to look up my insurance on my phone. And he's just asked me as we're doing that and talking, and he's like, hey, have you got any weapons on you? And I was like, yes, sir, I've got a gun, on me appendix. And he was like, oh, okay, just don't touch it, all right? Like, and just waved me off on it like it was no big deal. And I know some folks are going to say, that is what it is, but the culture in Arizona, like, we don't care. We expect everyone to be armed.
Right. I think most law enforcement officers here, I live out in Tucson, they just kind of expect people to have guns either on them or in the vehicle. It's just not that big of a deal. Let's talk about calm, John. The cops raised the temperature in the middle of this stop with their attitude about the gun. It's like, you got the gun off of him. No one's acting like they're trying to do anything bad. So by you sort of, in my opinion, overreacting to the presence of a gun, you've now raised the temperature, and now everyone's way more on edge than they were a minute ago. And I got to say, if this guy's detained and he is, you think he has an illegal gun, cuffs should be on him right now. He should be cuffed and put somewhere safe. The fact that they leave him right by the car, it's all, I don't know if this is their procedure. It can't possibly be the procedure because it's a bit of a mess. I don't like leaving him uncuffed like that. If you suspect he's some master criminal, put handcuffs on him. The handcuffs can always come off later if we determine he's not a master criminal. No harm, no foul. It's all part of the detention, which, as I said earlier, I think is a little shaky to begin with.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, because what kind of seems like here is that when they found something, like a gun, then all of a sudden the wheels fell off, and wait, what the heck are we going to do now? Like, how are we going to handle this? Somebody has to take charge. And if your partner's not taking charge, you take charge. You're the one that says, okay, I got this. We'll be okay. Let's handle this thing. Let's make sure everybody's safe. We're safe. And I can't tell you, listen, officers, it's 2022, man. Just finding a gun on somebody, you can't amp up to that level. You gotta stay cool. You gotta be the calm one. It's one of the things that we learn in jiu-jitsu, right? If you make the other guy breathe harder, you win. And you will end up winning. And so don't be that. Now, the guy's been cool to this point, and then he loses his mind too. What in the world would make you jump into the car? Now, I'm guessing he's going, oh no, I'm going to jail. I don't want to go to jail, so I gotta run. But I left my wallet and my phone right there, and so I got to get my wallet and phone so that they don't know who I am when I run. But of course, as a police officer, he dives into the car to get an object, and you've just taken a gun off him. You're going to think he's got a gun, another gun sitting in there, and he's coming out with it.
Now, dear viewer, I want you to listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth very specifically here. John and I are in agreement. This stop was shaky and weird and unnecessary. That stop, however lawful or unlawful, is what led to this moment. Now we're talking about this moment in isolation, not the entire stop. In this moment, this officer has every reason to believe he's going for a weapon. He's already had one weapon on him, legal or not. So diving into an open door is a bad move. Don't do that. If you're going to run from the cops in your car, your phone's in the car, well, you got to leave your phone, I guess, and run the other direction. Now let me backtrack for a moment. Had he been properly detained earlier, he wouldn't have had the ability to do what he did. He'd have been handcuffed. He'd have been sitting, on his crossed legs or whatever. And we never get here. Listen, I'm not trying to ride these officers too hard, but listen, if you're out there practicing law enforcement, you got to get better at what you do. Make sure, first and foremost, make sure you are where you are legally and have a legal reason to be there. I don't believe these officers were very confident in the legality of this detention, probably because it was very, very gray and potentially not a lawful detention. Once you pull a gun off someone these days, as long as they weren't threatening you with it, as long as they're not fighting with you, try to keep the temperature low. Stay calm. Tell them what you want them to do. If they're being cooperative, let them be cooperative. Don't amp things up. At the end of the day, this whole thing was a sort of a comedy of errors. A lot of this stuff was unavoidable. Everyone made mistakes, the cops and this young man in the back seat. Folks, let's all get better and better cover our asp.